to Satsang. You won't be able to hear it over Zoom, but here in Varanasi, you can hear all the chanting from the temples and conches being blown. It's really spectacular. We've been sick for over a week, so I haven't been down there yet, but we can hear it from here. Been enjoying Varanasi all the same, truly. So let's take a pause, and you've had a full day preceding you this moment. So maybe we can wipe the slate clean, come to Satsang empty. And so we'll start with a brief meditation. Empty, empty, empty. Like this. Om. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Hrim Namah. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Hrim Namah. Om. Om, om, om. So welcome to Satsang. When the slate is wiped clear, there's this beautiful emptiness. that's so full, kind of roiling with aliveness, and yet empty. This is the natural human state of mind. There's such clarity, alertness, focus, but unperturbed, alive, intimate. And the only thing that occludes this for us is attachment to thought, identification with patterns of thought. We call it person, but it's not quite right. Person is also free and clear. It only just recently occurred to me, this word person, son. Per is some limitation. We've talked about this. Sun is the light of all that we know. The sun. Spell it however you like. And so person is a fragment of that light. The same light that animates each one of us individually as persons. Reflections of the one light. And it's true even scientifically. The only reason I can perceive you, perceive, in my perspective, is because light is reflecting off of you. So this is how sight works, seeing. In the relative, a world of reflections. But each one of us, imbued with the essence, the same one essence of light. This light has other names too. Truth. And love. Same. And it's nice to hear, maybe some poetry, but this can become perceptually true. Fully in the body, fully in the mind, and fully free. Three worlds simultaneously, also known as waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. It is said also, and I infer it to be true, that there is a fourth stateless state. It's called Turiya, which simply means fourth. I myself have not come to know this yet directly. But it seems very likely to be true. And anyway, straddling three worlds is quite something spectacular. There's a sense of aliveness and alertness and engagement and intimacy with life as life. Seeing and being seen, speaking and hearing. To the question of why all of this, that so many seekers in their subtle recognition wonder why? Why any of this? Supposedly, it can't be said or known, but there's lots of speculation. And one is that God, being one without a second, wanted to know its own self and became two. And two became three, and 5 and 8. Well, I don't know if it happens this way, but this is what's called the Fibonacci sequence. And this seems to be the fractalized or fragmented geometry of all of creation. If you haven't heard of Fibonacci, it's really a beautiful exploration, and there's plenty on YouTube. Another way of expressing it is as Om. In the beginning, there was the word, Om. Now, Om is spelled two ways, isn't it? A-U-M and O-M. Aum. Silence. Waking, dreaming, nidra, sleep, deep sleep. And then the silence, turiya, the stateless state. Three different dimensions, 4, I guess. Simultaneous. Now. So, something really awesome happens when the mind settles. It becomes a clear reflection. When the thoughts or the waves of the mind settle, placid, the mind reflects not itself anymore, but it reflects the source. Light, truth, love, existence, knowledge, bliss. This is the fruit of chitta vritti nirodha, the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind stuff. identification with thought, which we call opinions and beliefs, and says, I'm right. When this allegiance to the thinking mind dissolves, this is the dawn of knowing. This actually is the human potential. And, as I'm sure you've heard it said, your birthright. And it's already true for each one. No matter how occluded that truth is from any of us, it's still true. No doubt you've all heard the story of a beggar sitting on a box, begging for food, money, and a sage walks by, and the beggar asks the sage for money, and the sage says, well, sir, I don't have any money to offer you, but a question. What's in your box? And the beggar says, well, I don't know. I've never looked. Why bother? Now, he's been sitting on this box for years, decades, begging in poverty. He opens the box, reluctantly even. Why bother? And gold coins are revealed. Sitting on riches. The whole time. A wealth beyond imagination. But never turning to look inside. Each one of us comes to know this experientially, directly. Most usually, it's the fruit of great effort, sadhana, practice, seeking. Over many years, lifetimes, the yogis will say. Wouldn't you like to know it this lifetime? Wouldn't you like to know it from this body and this mind? It's a funny thing, because it seems along the way, in the sadhana, in the practice, in the sacrificing of the ego, it seems like we are giving up so much. It seems like it costs so much. And in this way, we could honestly say, from the perspective of seeker, it costs everything. It costs everything. But from the perspective of finder, it's not quite like that, but it'll suffice. It costs nothing, and nothing of value is ever lost. it feels, as a seeker, reckless and difficult. What more could I possibly surrender? But from the other side, it costs nothing. So I wonder, is this good to hear? Or is it annoying? Is it frustrating to hear? That all that you're clinging to, that all that we cling to amounts to nothing. Even your health. Certainly your wealth. Even your relationships, your memories. You don't actually lose anything. Your health, your wealth, your relationships. Your memory. All you lose is your clinging. We don't even realize what a tight grasp we have. I remember some years ago, one mentor of mine, he said, "Let go." Of what? I ask. Let go of what? Show me. I'll drop it right now. We could say it this way: the stories of me and mine. I'm right. Be free of I'm right. Sounds so simple. Especially in this world, which seems so wrong so often, doesn't it? Or maybe more profoundly, if I let go of this need to be right, maybe I'll be wrong. Let me see if I can you read it to me? Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe you'll know that I'm wrong. And then what? Exposed, naked. So much clinging, so much hiding. So much hiding. After many years of practice, many, not many, 5 years of intense practice of chase nothing, run from nothing, and hide from nothing. Promote nothing of myself and defend nothing of myself. Receive what comes, pleasant or unpleasant. Release what goes. chase nothing, run from nothing, hide from nothing, promote nothing, defend nothing, receive what comes, release what goes. Om Tat Sat. In this practice, the you that clings will be revealed to you. And you will come to know yourself, the self that you think you are. And knowing that thought, you'll be able to let go. Seeing it, you'll know, I am not that. And then you can let go. Chase nothing. Everything that belongs to you will come to you. This is the law of karma. It's the law of the universe. You cannot run and you cannot hide. What belongs to you will come to you, and what does not belong to you, you will never make contact. But you will spend a lot of energy and anxiety in the process. This is samsara. All of the energy chasing, running, and hiding, scurrying about, being pulled this way and that way by our senses like rag dolls. Conditioning. Automatic, reactive, not free will. But free will is. And dawns, and you'll see it, as the compulsions of attraction and aversion fall away through nothing more than discernment. Nothing more than an intelligence, a persistent intelligence that doesn't forget what doesn't work, remembers what works and commits to it, and doesn't forget what doesn't work and fall back into it. Discernment. And when all of that falls away, you'll know it, because the question will arise, what now? What will I do? Most of you have already come to this place and asked the question, to me even, and then forgot. Well, this is how it is. Be sure, this practice is so uncomfortable. It's so challenging for us. And it bears the greatest fruit. My Gurudev, Swami Satchidananda, says, all of this practice I give you, it's designed only to exhaust you, to bring you to the place of total surrender. And then I will add, from this place alone, God will swoop in and show you who you really are. A lion cub is orphaned and somehow miraculously adopted by sheep, a family of sheep. And it thinks itself to be a sheep, of course. Eats like a sheep. Sleeps with the other sheep. Sounds like a sheep. Bleats like a sheep. And one day, a grown lion comes and sees this and is thinking, what aberration is this? So he goes to the young lion and he says, why do you behave like a sheep and bleat like a sheep? And he says, because I'm a sheep. So he takes him down to the pond, shows him his reflection. Shows him who he really is. The lion shows the lion that he's not a sheep. No. It's been a long time since we've started satsang with this instead of a question. So let's come back to your own reflections. What do you have for us?
I've got something. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So my question is how to show up. Like I'm trying to be present to the suffering of this one that is in a very reactive personality. And there's a part of me that is not agreeing. But there's also a part of me that like completely understands, like from her experience, that is suffering and it hurts. I get that. But I'm having trouble like how to show up to that.
Yes.
With also like I don't know if I want to say not compromising my own truth. I don't have to say anything,
Right.
but there's something that seems to be called forth to
Yes.
acknowledge. And there's such a tension within me. I'm having a hard time, really hard time with it.
Yeah. Thank you. It's true when we become even relatively free, the suffering of others becomes very poignant for us. Even the suffering of the whole world can be felt. This is a sign of our own spiritual maturation and evolution. We move from thinking that we're singular and I into a recognition that we are a we. And it's very common in the process of vibrational ascension that we begin embodying. Our awareness dawns that we are embodying the emotions of others. And the recognition of this seems to exaggerate the experience. In a way, it's beautiful, isn't it? I mean, this is compassion, not as an aspiration or even some sort of practice. It is. It is. As a we, the where I end and where you start is so blurred. That process of awareness of oneness is real. And it's not a teaching. It is, of course, but it's not just a teaching. Each one of us is the totality of we. Simultaneously the same and different. So, I think it's important on our path to celebrate the victories, which often seem like challenges, can be painful and confusing. But these are victories. Recently, we talked about the human spiritual evolution from passion, of me and mine. We reminded ourselves that passion, the literal Latin root, means suffering. We move from passion to compassion, first maybe as a practice, then as a fundamental reality of our being, which is that we are all suffering together, compassion, suffering with, along with, together. Individuals in one body, connected, painfully and beautifully. From passion to compassion to dispassion. There's an experience of dispassion that maybe precedes total vairagya, which is uncolored. Untainted. You could say emotionless, but it's not really quite true. It's bliss. The embodied feeling of bliss is kind of, you could say, a culmination of all emotion. Imagine it like this. In the word and the sound Om, you can imagine this as the Big Bang, let's just say. I don't claim it's true, but let's just imagine it this way. And this Om fragments into every sound ever heard in all of history. Is it 38.8 billion years or something like this? Supposedly the time passed since the Big Bang. That every sound, every vibration came from this single bindu of Om. Om Karam Bindu Samyuktam Nityam Jayanti. Individuated sounds. let's imagine each one of these sounds to be fluctuating emotions, experienced individually, in narratives, in time. But if you take all of emotion and all of sound and you reaggregate it, this is a bliss. So this dispassion is not stale. It is not aloof. It is not and cannot be apart from. It is not apart. It is the whole. This is the exalted human, embodied human experience of an adept, a master. And so along the path of the inverse journey, the return home, the return to the primal Om, from being individuated in the world and then slowly recoalescing. So on this journey, there's so much to experience. And this actual experience of the living compassion as just a fundamental proprioceptive way of being is beautiful and a huge progress. Okay, so there is the esoteric truth. How do we be with others who are suffering? It's a tricky business. And it's a dance. There are guidelines, but there is no formula. And what works in one moment must be discarded for the next. There's no how-to. The 7 steps to compassion. Well, maybe there is, and I suppose it could be quite useful. But in truth, when you enter this realm, you will come to, or have already come to realize that all of this is so spontaneous. There is no choreography. Like a surfer never surfs the same wave twice. There's always something different in it. Oh. But here's the broad strokes of the guideline provided to us by Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras. And it's known as the 4 locks and keys. Would you bring them up for me?
What you're saying is resonating because it feels like a dance. It just keeps changing and coming back to what inspired action from source may arise to speak to or not speak to. It's a freaking dance, man.
It is a dance. It feels like a dance of the swords too, doesn't it?
Oh.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, yeah.
Well, precarious. Peopling. Mirabai likes to call it peopling. I love that. Well, here's the thing. Each one, you know, is in a constant state of fluctuation. Every single other you're in relationship with never shows up as the same twice. There are some tendencies and some broad strokes you can say, but each one a wave that you could say are surfing. Maybe that's not the best analogy, but you understand it's a constant. Also, the you that you think you are perceiving them is also a wave constantly shifting. Good luck. But at our heart, there is this desire to salve suffering. And this is beautiful. Our own, this is first and foremost, must be. And others. And what we do for others, it's a call and response. By serving others, we serve ourselves. By serving ourselves, we serve others. But you see, it could seem like in the other, the same trauma, the same pain, the same past, but the narrative of it changes. The memory of it changes. And one time there is a sincere surrender and sincerity to the pain of the trauma. Another time it can be used as a manipulation to get what we want. We came to this with in a previous satsang. Somebody brought it, saw it in themselves. So beautiful and courageous to see and then to speak it in Sangha. This was incredible to me. Yes, we use our pain as a weapon, as a tool to seek love, to be accepted. This is just part of the conditioning. This isn't some condemnation of humanity, but it will be nice for you when you're free of it, and easier for you to navigate the world when you see that you're really never engaging with the same person twice. In a way, we could say that this recognition that everything and everyone are in constant movement. That you never show up to me as the same one. I'm not blind to my memory of you in some arc of evolution, and I'm also aware of my memory superimposing on you the things that I remember. So in every moment, other shows up as something totally new. There are patterns, to be sure, and it doesn't pay to be blind to patterns. This total acceptance isn't a blindness. It's fully aware. But what it does do is detach from needing you, from needing the other to be anything different than what they are in this now moment. Whatever arises, love that. Detached. Dispassion, compassion, kind of in the same soup.
That's an interesting challenge, because we've talked before about the impersonal state of this broader kind of love and compassion for others. What is love without a face? Like, the way my face has shown up in love in the past, and as I move to maybe a more impersonal or depersonalized,
Transpersonal,
loving,
maybe, yeah.
yeah, loving presence, it's been inadequate in some ways. It's been challenging. It's been instigating new challenges in I guess it's perception of others, which I should not give a fuck about. But it just like,
Yes.
you don't care about me, or
Yeah.
like you're judging me. Like,
Yeah.
no, I'm just sitting here, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
I'm paying attention. So there's a tension there for me. I'm really sorry if I'm hogging this
No,
thing.
it's beautiful.
But this is a very fine dance.
Yes.
Really fine. Right now, in
Yes.
my experience.
There's in the detachment, it's kind of a dissolution of the ego, we could say, the one who is identified with separate me and mine. There's always a little hue that remains. You know? There's just a little bit of a fly in the soup. You know? This is ours. Huh? There's just a little bit of a tint. Yeah. That still seems to be discerning, seems to be detached and observing, but still there's just a subtle edge to it. I have it. And this can cause some discomfort. It's fine. It's unavoidable. This is just part of the process. There's certainly no need to apologize for it. This is how it is. And it's great progress. But also this is true. When your frequency, when your vibration of your eye sense in a detached state, even proportionally so, rises, it is either very attractive to others or extremely threatening. When an opera singer sings in proximity to a champagne flute, it shatters. The identity clinging to itself, in the absence of this identity, there is an anxiety to it. And the more you become empty, the more you are a mirror. You still have to see what it is you're bringing through the reflection that isn't pure. This is always true. However, you must know that much of what's being said about you, felt around you, is people experiencing their own selves because you are a reflective emptiness. Increasingly, we become mirrors. Ultimately, the one who is guru, or saint, or sage, this one is a mirror. And this can trigger intense fear and anxiety and anger in people. Why do you think, truly, have you contemplated, why did they shout, "Crucify him"? Do we think that we're the one person who would have been there that wouldn't have joined in the chant, "Crucify him"? Why did they feed Socrates hemlock? You see, the identity must promote and defend itself. And when it comes under existential threat, it will fight, flight, or freeze. So what to do? You are what you are. Never apologize for that. Always seek to be more empty, more compassionate, more forgiving? Of course. But let them that come, come. Don't chase anyone. I know you don't. We're speaking broad terms. What comes to you will come to you. Never offer a teaching if a question didn't precede it. And when you become really wise, you'll make sure they ask at least 3 times with sincerity before you answer. When you're empty, all things become clear in a neutrality, a detached, kind of a ubiquitous forgiveness of this is what is, and it's just a play on a screen. And the only difference between any two ones is their level of recognition. The self is the self. Same, same. Somehow, one is concealed to their own self. They don't know. Their own identity concealed. And that one, concealed identity, will cast the same judgment against everyone. Would think a master is a fool or a fraud. You see? We're only ever seeing where we're looking from. So, how to be with others? How are the locks and keys, Krishna Priya? The first one is
how to deal with happy people, treat them with friendliness.
How to deal with happy people, treat them with friendliness. Let's say it this way: how to deal with one who presents sincerely as happy. Right? Sincerely as happy. Easeful and happy and soft and da-da-da. Friendly. Yeah, it's natural, isn't it? And eventually we begin to smell the happiness that is a pretend, a charade, you know? What's the next one?
Towards the sad or the unhappy, treat with compassion.
Towards the sad or the unhappy, treat with compassion. Sincerely sad. In the sadness, in surrender. Usually this is accompanied by an ugly face. Tears, maybe even some snot, some hyperventilating, or you just know in the vibration. It doesn't need all of those things, of course, but you know in the vibration there is a sincere sadness that aren't crocodile tears. That isn't trying to manipulate something.
Towards the virtuous, delight.
Towards the virtuous, delight. When you see something good and right, be wary of envy. When you see something good, do not tear it down. Do not diminish it. Only you will diminish yourself in this. We know this even in Valentine's Day, and you're alone, and you see a couple holding hands on a park bench, and you think, how disgusting. When you see something good and pure, delight in that and know to have seen it means that it is available to you, can be you if you pursue that. To never scoff at it. To never be cynical. Oh, it's such a curse on our own selves. Cynicism. And the last?
Towards the non-virtuous or wicked, disregard or equanimity.
Yeah. Towards the unvirtuous or the wicked, disregard or equanimity. It's a very good translation. Wickedness. Softly and compassionately, we must know the contents of our own heart. Empty. Empty, empty of me and mine. Of any strategy, of any cynicism. Empty, empty.
One more subtle point is the one who is suffering seeks agreement. And the dance of showing up with compassion. But I can't tell if it's just the self or the dispassionate one, the detached one. You know, like, doesn't agree.
Yeah.
What did I say?
That's right.
I'm not agreeing with your agreement. I'm just loving you.
Yes.
Could you just accept that I'm loving you? And there's just, it's seen as disagreement or judgment. And I guess that's just part of the dance. But if you could speak to that,
Yes.
I'm willing to accept the dance, you know, we'll
Yes.
just dance through it.
Yeah. So I have a hack, if I can call it that, for this. And it has to work on you as it does with others. But first, let me just say, this is that unvirtuousness. The clinging and promoting the me and the mine and actively and maybe even pretending to be sad while this is really what's going on, you know, like this. And so equanimity, a total loving dispassion. When Jesus says, turn the other cheek, of course, there is the bare insult, bare injury. If you've been struck, it means that you have struck in the past, karma. We reap what we sow. Of course, this teaching is accurate. There's another thing that happens when you're slapped and you turn the other cheek. Your attention moves away. You see? The gaze moves away. It's not a rejection. This is important. It can't be a rejection or a disagreement. A total acceptance. So you come to see that all that's happening are stories from the place of no story or very subtle story. You see that all that's happening, being expressed through persons, are stories. And here's the thing. Each one of us is desperate to be seen and heard and accepted and loved. You can be that one. You can be the one that sees and hears and accepts and loves. Do it for yourself, your own person also, critical. Do it for each one that comes to you. So how does that look like? When somebody is before you and they're expressing in this way, and you know it's not true, you Each one of us has seen this. This is just their personality expressing itself. They're completely misreading the circumstances. They're lost in a story. We all know this. And, we also come to know that it's happening with us as well. To be totally okay with that. You can sit in the stillness of a ubiquitous love and acceptance and not really even hear what they're saying, but not rejecting it, certainly not debating it, even in your own heart and mind. And you are in the love of the divine, the indwelling divine, and they will feel seen and heard and accepted and loved. Or their echo chamber is so tight that they will be disturbed by it. But then they'll go. They'll go. Okay. Come, you go. Come, go. If you can develop the practice, we've been talking about this, of looking, concentrating in any relationship and the space between you and other as the primary focus of attention, the space between, and also look through the other to behind them where you imagine God is. So that gaze upon God, which is past them, they're sort of intermediary, like a facade, a veneer to God.
Yeah, for sure.
But they will feel that and either receive it or not. But this is not your business. What another receives is not our business. What another rejects is not our business.
So it's providing a false, is it providing a false affirmation to say, I get it, I understand, that's really hard?
I think here, in the space that we're practicing to cultivate, you'll know what to say, and that if you say the wrong thing, it's not the wrong thing. Your goal isn't always to soothe somebody. If you are pure in your intent, empty and loving in your heart, you may say something that you thought, oh, maybe that was the wrong thing to say. But you don't know. And in the moment, it may appear that it was the wrong thing, but a year from now, they might reflect back on that and get that nugget that you didn't know that you offered. You see, there's no way to get it right. There's just no way to get it right. We can only be, and be as in tune with the indwelling divinity as we can, standing in the presence. But this is not something that we curate, that we direct. And so you can't get it right. And so, ergo, you cannot get it wrong. And then you'll see, what we always see. Oh, there was a little bit of me in that. Okay. Listen, you could say, the me that remains is the me that God is using in a way that I may or may not understand. I've seen it in my own self, in my own me and mine characteristics, and being in awareness, seeing how it plays out around the people around me. And I see how each one is interpreting it in their own lens, and it's for them also. It's not an excuse for me to continue to engage in this way, but I don't apologize for being me. Why would I ever do that? I can only ever sincerely seek to be more and more empty. You see? There are no mistakes. Come to the place that is as empty as you can possibly come to in your own heart. Loving, empty, detached, allowing for everything that arises. Being lovingly disinterested, because all stories are just stories. My story, not so interested. Your story, truly, I love you, but I'm not interested at all. You, to me, are now. Your past is something that colors you. It doesn't change you. It's like a filter on a camera lens. And each one of you, looking through your filter, sees me completely differently. Am I different? But I tell you, each one who's looking at me right now doesn't have the same. It's different. And I see each one of you differently. And I see you shifting right here in the camera also. This is the way it is. It's always in movement. How could you possibly get it right? How could you possibly create a formula for something that doesn't present as the same thing twice? This is not about becoming a better person. It's not a bad thing to become a better person. Let's be clear. But this is not what this is. This is about knowing the you that is revealed when the stories of you fall away. You won't regret it. This is my promise. I'll remind us that what comes to us is ours. It doesn't matter whether it's uncomfortable, pleasant or unpleasant. It's ours. It's come as a blessing, as a gift, to reveal who we're not in order to reveal who we are. How many hats have you played along the way of your path of spiritual progression? Teacher, healer. When I was sitting in satsang with Muji, he said, don't build a hut halfway up the mountain and hang a shingle called healer. It's not a problem for those who do, okay? It's not. He said to me, don't write a book. Don't create some new spiritual identity. I'm certified in nonviolent communication. It's not wrong. It's good even. But the identity of this, it's just a cul-de-sac. An eddy in the river, you know? No problem. Rivers have eddies. They're not a problem. But go downstream. Come to the ocean. You're never experiencing the same one twice. You yourself are never the same one twice. Have you begun to see this? The fluidity of your sense of I?
I knew it so well with children. It just is so challenging with adults.
Yes. It's so challenging with adults. We're more challenging as adults too. Yeah. So really, truly, if you read these locks and keys from Patanjali and his Yoga Sutras, and you meditate on them and you contemplate them and you endeavor to be this way, all manner of human relations, you will develop a skill. You'll know how to handle situations intuitively that used to be confusing. You'll intuitively know how to be as a generosity to others. And always be looking for the slight hue of your own identity. It's not a problem, don't make it wrong, but just know. Most of the time we'll only see that one in the rearview mirror looking back at yesterday or the day preceding. And soon you'll come to know it in the very moment, and you'll either choose to discard it or not because it's serving some purpose. Eventually, each one will wear a personality like a blue, silly blue hat. You know? It's a beautiful inquiry, Ali. Thank you. Because really, when it boils down to it, isn't it? I mean, we could say, I would say, the goal of human life is to be completely accepting of what is. And so much of this for us is in human relationship. A few years ago, I said to Swami Brahmananda, just so tired of all of the peopling at the ashram where I was living. And I told Swami Brahmananda, I said, Swamiji, I think I'm ready for the cave. Now, we both knew I wasn't. Still am not. And he said, he smiled and he says, Nataraj, your karma will find you there.
I found people are the best gurus.
The best. And truly, we're never experiencing them as they are. We're always looking through an occluded lens of past, of story, the story of me and mine. When you come to this, you will realize, you say, here you are, and nobody has ever once seen you. You have never been seen. You have no name and you have no face. And whatever you've ever said about yourself and whatever anyone else has ever said about you, and you have never seen another. Until we come to behold and see the divine in all of the names and forms, in every face, the light of every heart. This can be seen physically with your two eyes, the heart light, in others. It's just true. And when what is false falls away, this truth is revealed to each one. There is nothing but what we call God. And this beautiful Leela of devotion to that God with a deep humility and gratitude. There isn't the slightest hint of hierarchy for the one who beholds. There isn't the slightest hue of arrogance. And the dance persists. I call you this, you call me that. Why not? This is bliss. There's no trouble in this. This is ecstasy. Oh, chase nothing. Run from nothing. Hide from nothing. Promote nothing of yourself and defend nothing of yourself. Receive what comes and release what goes. Keep quiet. Be still. Sat Chit Ananda. This is what it feels like to be human. To be fully human. It costs everything. It costs nothing. Whatever it is that we cling to for our sense of survival, it won't work. The clinging itself is a misunderstanding. Oh. So, some prayers to everybody's physical and emotional health. We're loving you so much. Also, everybody's invited to join me in Mayapur in the first week of February. It should be a really beautiful experience. Sort of recreating my experience from last year to share it with other people. It was so profound for me, and I hope to share it with some people. Just a few, probably. We're going to be in the birthplace and home of Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was incarnated 500 years ago as the embodiment of Radha and Krishna, same body, so that he could experience being devoted to Krishna. Krishna wanting to have the experience of being a devotee to Krishna. It's such a beautiful and also popularized kirtan. There's so much kirtan in Mayapur. And also we're going to be exploring the non-difference between knowing and loving. Between jnanam and bhakti. First as wings of a bird that we balance on. Not too brittle, not too drunk, right in the middle. Goldilocks. And we'll see that how the fruit of either path is the same. So you're welcome to join if you know anybody who might want to join in Mayapur, India in February. Please let them know. Please let us know. Om, om, om. Okay. Sleep well, everybody. Thank you for joining Satsang. Wonderful to see you and to be with you, even if I couldn't see you. Love you, love you.
Love you, love you.